Pros and cons of New York City. Privacy. There's a lot of walking, way more opportunities, very fast paced, just a creative hub. New York City. I was there for 5 weeks, living in an Airbnb and just exploring the city. I just really wanted to get a feel for what the city was like. Maybe I could potentially move there in the future, or I don't know, just try it out, because I think it's important to try new things and get out of your comfort zone. So that's exactly what I did, and I made a whole 6-part vlog series documenting my trip. Now I kind of just wanted to reflect on it. I made a little list of pros and cons of living in the city, and I just wanted to share that with you. This is gonna help me remember my trip and how I think back on it if I do decide in the future to live here or not. So I'll just give an overview. What did I think of my New York City trip? Well, I had a blast. I honestly did. Just going around, being on my own in a big city, figuring things out, learning to use the subway, meeting awesome creators, and putting myself out there. It's fun, it's exciting, it's not something I feel like I do normally day to day here back home, but when I'm put into a place where it kind of forces you to get out and do things, I feel more lively in a way. I don't know, it feels like I'm kind of living life more. Does that make sense? What it kind of reminded me of was a really big college town, in the sense that if you live in New York City or around that area, everyone is so close. Like, you just take a subway and you can meet up with someone. Everyone knows where all the best landmarks are, all the restaurants. It's so easy to go out and do things. There's always events, there's always new places to go to and explore. And in that way, it seems like just like a college town, but without the college part. So, pros and cons of New York City. I'll start with the bad things, okay? First of all, privacy. Very hard to find privacy in the city just because there's so many people. Like, everywhere you look, there's just people walking. And even when you live somewhere, it's likely that you'll have a roommate, just because finding a room on your own is crazy expensive. So maybe you'll have your own bedroom, but you'll share a kitchen area or a living room or the apartment with other people. So finding places to just be completely alone is somewhat difficult, and I do really enjoy my privacy. I do enjoy living at home alone. It gives me a lot of freedom, a lot of independence to do what I want whenever I want. So that's definitely something that I would have to get used to. Second thing is living in very small areas. Obviously, because there's so many people, space is very limited as well. So your bedroom is going to be tiny, your apartment overall is going to be tiny, shops generally are very crammed together. They're always trying to squeeze in things to fill all the space just because it's so expensive here and there's so many people. So that's just the nature of New York City, and something that I did have to get used to, but it helps that I am small, so living in a small room isn't like a huge deal for me. I can completely live with that. Third, you have to rely on public transportation. So taking the subway, while it may be more convenient than a really long car ride in traffic, sometimes it's unreliable. Sometimes there's maintenance, sometimes it just randomly stops or it passes your stop. That happened to me one time, and you don't have control over when you need to get there. You'd have to rely on it. That's something that I don't really like. I love my car. I love the freedom of driving when I want, and having music to listen to in the background and singing in the car. Public transportation is definitely something that I really missed, but I guess it's good that I get more exercise walking. The last bad con about New York City is literally everything is just so expensive. Buying things generally, apartments, doing anything in New York City is just overall more expensive because it's New York City. Alright, so now that I've gone through all the cons, I actually made another list that's pro/con, which is a good and bad thing. So I do want to go over those. The first thing is, there's a lot of walking in New York City, crazy amounts of walking. I wasn't really used to it, but after like a week or so, my feet really hurt just because I wasn't used to walking so much. I think if I lived there for longer, I'd get more used to it. You have to be like very physically fit to live in the city. Going up so many stairs, like on the subway, like going out, walking to places. It's just a lot of physical exercise, which is great because now it's forcing me to go out and get exercise, whereas I would just stay in my house, maybe go rock climbing occasionally. But because like when I was in New York City, I was always so tired from walking, I never had time really to go to the gym or go to a weekly rock climbing thing. Like I went rock climbing once, but I feel like if I lived in the city, I would just be so tired that I feel like I'd have to give up some rock climbing and also skiing because it's much harder to find good mountains in New York City, I feel like. But yeah, walking, good. I'm getting exercise, but also I'm giving up maybe a little bit of time doing rock climbing and skiing, which is also a big part of my life. But in the long run, I think it's better that I'm getting exercise every day from walking than not doing it at all, and maybe going rock climbing once a week and going skiing every other week in the winter. And the other good / bad thing is having a roommate. I think I do like it better when I have the whole place to myself. I don't know, I just feels like I can do more things on my own schedule. But it's also nice to have company, you know? It's good to have someone to come home to and just talk to. I guess it really depends on who the roommate is. But yeah, it's a good and bad thing, something you gotta think about. And now, moving into the pros of living in New York City. First thing is, there are way more opportunities to do projects and just work-related things. Like, the media is here, like I did the Tonight Show project there, NBC is there, all these creative agencies are here. It's just, I get a lot of work in New York City generally, so being closer to the city and having something that's local is always a plus. Second, New York City is just a creative hub, so anyone who's like in the creative industry, they're an artist or they're like a graphic designer or I don't know, they work in the media, you're more likely to find these creative people to collaborate with and, you know, just meet up with. It's much easier to find those people there just because it's kind of like a hub for creative people. It's kind of crazy, like I can confidently say that I have made way more friends in New York City in just 5 weeks than I have living here on my own in like 10 months. It's so much easier to meet people and find people who are in the same field that you're working in. If you do a lot of video, a lot of film, a lot of art, things like that, it's much easier to connect with those people. And that is a huge thing because people are always stronger together. You know, having creative minds in one place lifts people up and it like gets you so excited to just create more. There's like a really good type of energy in New York City and it's very motivating. It's very motivating. The nature of the city, because everything is very close and you have to walk to it, it gets you out of the house, it gets you doing things, and it makes you more, or at least for me personally, it made me feel more present in the world, like just walking by, seeing things, enjoying nature. It feels like you're more out in the world. Just because of the way it's laid out, it helps me to be more in touch with the reality of life, I guess. Does that sound cheesy? So because of that, I feel like I did have a more balanced lifestyle in terms of like managing my personal life versus work life, because lines are very blurry. Like I love Domino's. Like in my spare time, I'd still probably be editing or making this video. I feel like breaks are more embedded into the New York City lifestyle just because you're walking everywhere. You're taking the subway, it kind of like breaks up your flow and it's easier to see people, so you naturally just take breaks. And also, New York City is just very fast paced. The rate at which people do things and like, I don't know, I like it. I also feel like I have a very fast paced schedule. I'm always doing things, like trying to think of what's the next thing to do and how I can grow my business and just like overall build something and create. It's a very fast-paced city and I do appreciate that. I feel like a lot of other people are on the same page, so it feels more okay to always be doing things. Another weird thing that I noticed, because New York City is like a very touristy area, it felt so much more okay to like take out my camera and just like film myself and vlog. Like I could just be like, oh, this is normal, like I'm just a tourist, you know, I'm just gonna film myself, and literally nobody cares. Like people don't care in the best way possible. Like you could be FaceTiming someone at dinner and talking to yourself and nobody like literally would care, and it's really nice. People just mind their own business, still very friendly, but you know, you're not gonna get those weird looks, maybe not compared to another place, which I thought was very comforting. Much easier to do my job and do something that seems more accepted in that area. Lots of pros, still lots of cons too, lots of things to consider. Would I move there in the future? Not right now. Definitely not right now. I do think I need time for myself at the moment to just like figure myself out and growing into the person that I feel like I can be to thrive in New York City. And also, it's like very expensive, so there's no reason to move there right now. I also think I do need a car, so if I were to move to New York City, it would maybe be outside of the city so I can still have a car and I can drive my Domino's to places. So that's also a big thing to consider. I really like the city. I can see myself living there, maybe sometime in the future, not right now. The city will always have a special place in my heart. I'm always happy to go back, and I know I'm actually going back to the city in a couple of weeks, so yeah, it's a cool place. If you ever have the opportunity to go to New York City, I highly recommend it. Go explore, just walk around, go to some museums, see what it has to offer, and yeah, I think it's really important to travel and just experience things, especially on your own too. Like when you travel on like by yourself compared to with a group of friends or with your family, it's sometimes a very different experience. Like you learn so many more things about yourself, and you're able to, I don't know, really take in things on your own terms, at your own pace, and it's eye-opening. It really is. It's an experience that I highly recommend, even if that means just going on a road trip or something. It's always good to get out, try new things, and explore the world. But yeah, love New York City. I hope this helped. What do you think? Like, have you been to New York City? What did you think about it? Did this help you make any decisions if you're also thinking about going to the city and living there? Let me know in the comments. Let's have a discussion. And as always, I'm Lily. This is my personal channel, Behind the Five, where I talk about things beyond Domino's. My main channel is Heavish5. But yeah, turn on your notifications because I don't have a posting schedule, and I would love it if you were part of this family where we could just, I don't know, talk about real things. And yeah, I'm Lily, and I need to think of a new outro. And if you want to watch the 6-part series of me in New York City, there's a playlist right here. You can click on that. I hope you enjoy it. It was a lot of fun to make. And yeah, happy days. Safe traveling, and keep being awesome.